What's going on, everybody? The world's a better place because you are here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I am the host of the Productive Conversations podcast, bringing you another NBA postseason show. Me and the great fresh faces are here. What's up, faces?
How you doing, Matt? Let's get to this.
Let's get to it. So, as we are about to discuss, we are now deep in the conference semifinals. Deep. How about that? Looks like one's about to end with the Cavs and the Celtics as expected, but we have Knicks and Pacers, which are 3-2. Nuggets, Timberwolves, 3-2. Mavs and Thunder are tied at 2 at the time of this recording, and plenty of other good stuff to discuss, plus reacting to the draft lottery. But let's start with the Knicks and the Pacers. Right now, the series is going 6 at least, with the Knicks up 3-2 over the Indiana Pacers. When we first spoke, Knicks were up 2-0. The Pacers won the next 2 at home, which included a god-awful Knicks game in Game 4, and then they gave it right back with a god-awful Indiana Pacers performance, and the Knicks taking over even amongst their injury concerns. But at this moment, we have a Game 6 on Friday and a possible Game 6 on Sunday afternoon. What has caught your eye with this series? For me, it's just a back and forth. One team playing terribly, one team playing well. I think this will be a 7-game series with the Knicks ultimately winning it, but it's definitely been interesting so far.
I mean, this series should have been over. Like, the only reason this has been close is Nimhart hit like an absurd buzzer beater basically in Game 3, and then every Knick ran out of gas in Game 4. Like, you can't play three guys to do everything for 48 minutes every game and then like win. Like, eventually they're gonna tire. But this Pacers team is bad.
Yeah.
Like how do you not like they had the easier cakewalk than the Celtics did. Like, they had no Giannis, no Dame, and they had a Knicks team that has 4, maybe 5 NBA players at this point, like actual rotation guys. They got Jalen Brunson, who's kicking their ass. They got DiVincenzo, who's doing pretty well, and then Josh Hart and Hartenstein, who maybe combined for 20 points, and then Deuce McBride. Like, that's it. Like that team, they lost their best defender halfway through the series, and they're just like getting shellacked. And Siakam's playing terrible. And whatever they got from the Pacers for Obi was too much, because he's fucking terrible. He is so bad. I was watching him in Game 3, and I don't think he ever made a basket that game. Like, he can't defend. He doesn't rebound. If he's not scoring, he's useless. Like, it would be helpful for this Knicks team because they have, like, they're basically going to start plucking people off the street next week.
I think they play with 2-way players who happen to still be on the rotation in that Game 4.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jericho Sims is getting maybe like serious minutes. Like, they got nothing. It's just a gritty team, and this Pacers team, it's like, oh yeah, they're super young and shit, but like, it's got to be a little concerning if you can't beat a team that's basically just essentially Jalen Brunson head faking his way into every basket and then hustle. Like, that's it. That's like credit to them for having all this stuff, but like, that's all they have. It's just hustle. And Tyrese Halliburton's been bad.
Yeah, and he has given the injury bug as an excuse, but also doesn't show up to play either, especially in Game 5. And it's so annoying seeing, we're talking about the Olympic team, how I understand my biased opinion on it, but choosing Halliburton over Brunson at this point, it's not, that decision hasn't aged well, even though obviously they can't make any changes at this point. Are we seeing is Halliburton all he's cracked up to be, or do you still think it's the back spasms problem?
I think it's probably still the injuries, because like, in the moment when they made the decision, it was the right decision. Like, how healthy Halliburton leading up through the midseason tournament was like what, the third best, fourth best guard in the league. It was like Lucas, Steph, SG, and him. Like, and Jalen Brunson wasn't at this level, so it made sense that now, you know, there'll probably be spaces. I can't imagine Joel Embiid is going to make it to the Olympics. Although obviously you can't replace Joel Embiid with Jalen Brunson because you got to have some actual size on this team. Um,
And
but
especially
like,
you got to take these other countries seriously now. They're just as good as the Americans, if not better.
yeah, all the Eastern Europeans, the French have Wemby. Like, and it like then in probably in 28 they're gonna have Wemby times two.
Yeah, I
Like,
actually did do research, as I said, with his brother. He's quite the interesting fellow here. He's just the obvious even shorter at 6'8". Somehow his brother's still 8 inches taller, but they got some good genes that Wembanyama family. Um, how do you feel about Rick Carlisle's coaching performance in this series? A lot of people have criticized some of the way he's gone, so making excuses at press conferences. Obviously, he's an established coach. He's won it all before. Do we have any blame with him during this series?
I don't know. I like Rick Carlson as a coach. I think he's a really good coach. He may have just worn out his welcome there. I think he probably gets one more year, and then they probably decide because like you can't tell how much of it is Carlson's coaching, how much of it is effort, how much of it is Halliburton being hurt, how much of it is the fact that Siakam like couldn't hit free throws for the first couple games. Like there are some things that like the coach can't do so much. Like you can't do anything if Halliburton's taken he had multiple games where he's taken less than 10 shots. Um,
Yes.
like you can't do anything about that unless you tell him to shoot more and he does it. Like you can't do anything about that. You can't do anything about that. The fact that like Nimhart has no chance of guarding Jalen Brunson. Like you can't do anything about the fact that like Siakam should be averaging like at least 25 every game in this series. They have nobody to guard him. Like I don't know how much of this is on him. Um, I think he probably gets one more year, but I don't know. I think again, I'm going to repeat this. I think when the Sixers did it, and then when the Pistons did it, this like bitching to the refs, like here's the 79 fucking calls that we missed it's some bitch shit. Like again, like what do you want to happen to this? Like you can point out like, oh yeah, maybe the refs are going to do something better this time, but if they miss 79 calls, like you're not getting those games back.
No, and
It's the
we
playoffs.
talked
And
about the reports being just pointing that out too.
like I get it. You wanna be able to figure out how the game is going to be ref, but just assume it's going to be ref very loosely, and
Oh
then
yeah.
just go into that like that. Like I'm sure we'll talk about it. The the Western Conference games, the shit that the refs let them get away with is unbelievable. Like it's not the same in the East. Granted, I haven't watched a single one of the Celtics games because
Don't
that
need to.
series went exactly as we said it would.
Yeah.
Um,
Which they, by the
and
way,
it was
literally just finished right now. Celtics do officially advance as of this minute.
yeah, because Jarrett Allen, Karis LeVert, Donovan Mitchell, and I think somebody else was sitting for this game. Like
Yeah,
they
the
gave that
Donovan
game up.
Mitchell was surprising. You'd think at least for somebody who wants another contract, you'd think he and wanted to show he's a special player, all effort. He at least put his body out there, but no, they just folded and man,
No, the only way
who
he
was it?
stays in Cleveland is if LeBron comes. That's it. Like he's done. He's done staying in Cleveland, and it doesn't matter. Like he showed what he had to in the first round. Um, there's no point risking it because maybe he thinks he might be an alternative to the USA team.
Right. But ultimately, the way this is going, do you think this is going 7 at least? Somehow the Pacers like to turn it on at home. But obviously, I think the Knicks should go all out for it and just finish the series, get as much rest as you can before a difficult Celtics series. And even though the Knicks fan, I understand in the reality that they're probably can't overcome the Celtics, especially if OG's out. But at least accomplishing the goal to get to the conference finals is huge and huge momentum for the future. So I definitely want them to at least finish the series to get that part of the story done. And whatever happens in the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm still going to cheer them with my heart and hope there's some miracle, but I understand the reality as well. But do you think ultimately this ends in 6 or 7?
I think it's going to end in 6. Like, assuming they don't like run out of gas and get blown off the floor like they did in Game 4, which is really like the only game that they really should have lost this series was Game
Yeah.
4. Like Game 3, there was no like that was their game. Like they should have won that game. He had to hit like a ridiculous shot to basically win that game.
Right.
Um,
And it came out like
Brunson wasn't
70%
healthy
in the
that game.
30. No, with that foot injury. And somehow that miraculously ran away for game 5, and we'll appreciate that.
Yeah. So like, assuming the Knicks don't just like physically run out of gas again and get run off the floor, they should win. Like it
Right.
should end in 6. The real thing is like who ends up getting healthy between Porzingis and Anunoby, and that'll all depend on it. Because I think this current Celtics team is going to get punched in the mouth by this Knicks team, in a way that they haven't been. Like Evan Mobley put up 33 points on them. Look, I understand there's nobody else who can score on this team, but Evan Mobley can't score either.
Yeah, that was a weird one, but okay, good for
they're going to
showing
get
his stuff.
brutalized.
Oh yeah, that's what I definitely want, and have playoff Tatum, which is somebody who doesn't really show up when they need to do that.
But I mean, it's different. Because like he did it. When did he? Was it last year when he had a 56 on the? I think it was last year when he had 56 on the Sixers. Like that's that.
Yeah, I have it right here. It was 2023 for
but
that.
like he's not at the thing with Tatum is he can do that, but he's not like Ant. He's not like he hasn't like he's kind of viewed in that way, but he's not like that level. Like he's one of the worst playoff shooters. Like statistically, he's not a great 3-point shooter, and he doesn't do everything that you'd want. Like sometimes he does, but like he's not on the same level of consistency. But I don't know. I think this Boston team is soft in a weird way.
Ooh, so you really do think the Knicks could have a chance against the Celtics team? No.
I think if they actually had like players, maybe, but they're running like they have half a rotation. Like I don't know how much more you could like squeeze out of this. Like like even if they manage to upset them, do you think they're gonna beat the Nuggets?
No, the West though. The West will definitely win. Whoever's getting is the West. But I mean, you just want to see it. I was 5 years old when the Knicks were in the finals, and don't remember it. I mean, this will be my first time since I was 5 that they'll be in a conference final, and to me that's the big win, and house money at that point.
And the other thing to this is like you kind of want them to go out a little bit quick because you want them to like heal up. Like you don't really want Jalen Brunson playing in the Olympics, especially after this year carrying this. Like you want him to like heal up, because if it's a foot injury, I don't remember where exactly the actual foot injury, but like we're talking about a small dude anyway who gets hit a lot. And
I don't even think it's been officially diagnosed. They've only said foot injury. It's not like a torn ligament or it hasn't been announced as a torn ligament or anything. But
right, so like we don't know if he's still playing all these extra minutes on top of like the normal playoff minutes and the normal stuff he does, and then he goes to the Olympics and he's playing that, and then he comes back and he's still playing for Thibodeau and he's still going to average like 39 minutes a game. You're risking like a blown out knee or like a stress fracture or something. Like maybe he doesn't get hurt. But I don't see the point in risking it, especially if you're coming off what is going to be massive expectations. They're going to be at least, probably the second favorite team in the East.
Yeah, especially if we have a special off season this year, if figuring out what they're going to do with Randall, do they trade him for pieces? They still have all those first round picks. It'll be very interesting in a conversation for a little later down the line, but all you could do is just be happy about this Knicks team, enjoy this ride, finish this series, get a goal accomplished and making the conference finals, and then just enjoy what could happen. You're playing with house money when you actually get there. And at least compete with the Celtics, even though they, as you mentioned, they are running on fumes at this point, especially with no OG. And that's just my little win on this one, and we'll ultimately see where it goes.
Yeah.
But the Celtics do clinch officially, so that is done. And we also mentioned how the changes with Cleveland and what's going on there, and I heard more Bronny Jr. talk, man. I'm just curious before we talk about the West, and if LeBron decides to go back to Cleveland. He was at Cleveland game 4. Interesting tidbit, if you will. But just randomly, Faces, tell me, do you think Bronny James will be a good pro for somebody in his freshman year at USC? Not major college team. He only averaged 4 points a game. People are confused about his height. I don't know that much a factor, but then somebody who's trying to let me make sure, did he officially declare? He did officially declare, or
I
is
think he
that
might
still
have.
in? And let
I
me
think he. I don't remember when the date for them to pull out is. I think it's after the combine. Um, I think he should stay in school at least one more year because, like, you got to remember a lot of the context for the that came in. He almost fucking died.
yes.
Like, so he couldn't do anything for 3 months. And he's a good defender, but he's not a good shooter, like at all. Like he hasn't he looks fine in drills. I think he was like one of the better shooters in the drills, but he hasn't proven it in a game yet, like on any level that he's a good shooter. I think he would have been good for one more year in college, and yes, obviously it's probably a little easier to get drafted because this is viewed as a weaker draft class. But I think his dad is pushing him to come out. Do I think he'll be successful? Probably. A lot of it depends on context of where he lands. Is he going to get the time to develop? Like if he ends up as a Laker, he's probably fucked, at least for a while, because like he's gonna be thrown into the spotlight and he's not ready. Like he's not that level of player. Like God forbid they pick him like 56th or whatever their second round pick is. Um, he's gonna spend time in the G League.
Yeah.
And
He definitely, and that was one of the things I would also ask. So, yes, to answer our question, he is declared for the draft, but he also declared for the transfer portal. They have until after the combine, as you said, to pull out or not. And I was wondering, should he just go to a like a mid market school instead of a Power 5, or I think there's no problem staying in D1, or maybe just go to be a
no, he's
double A
gonna go to
school.
like he should go to, I think it's Duquesne, because I think
Yeah,
that's where
Duquesne.
is one of LeBron's high school teammates is coaching there.
That's
I
true.
think that's where it
That's the
is.
connection there, and out in Pittsburgh, that's where that school is.
Let him do that. I think that's the better decision for him because he needs that time to develop. Like he's got the seats. Like I don't know. I can't because I didn't play college sports like at that level. But like imagine you can't do anything for 3 months. I imagine that's going to throw off your rhythm and everything. And it doesn't matter where he goes. It's not like he's not going to have pressured spotlight
Yeah.
on. But I think he's a little smaller than people expected him to be. Um,
Yeah,
but
he's
like,
he's written as 6'4", but people think that he could be as short as 6'1".
yeah, I think that's what he measured it was 6'1.5" with a 6'7" wingspan. Like, look, he's not going to be all NBA MVP type caliber player. He isn't. He's going to be like I think the comp. I don't remember if it was the Ringer who wrote it up or they're quoting somebody that he's basically going to be like a Patrick Beverley type player, which is fine. Patrick Beverley's played in the league for like a decade.
Yeah, and as long as you don't throw the ball at people in the stands,
I mean,
you'll be okay.
he came back from Russia and took out Russell Westbrook's knee. Like, you know, um, there's nothing wrong with that type of career. It's just it's the pressure playing with his dad. I think is going to be more of a problem because the other one's not going to have to deal with this. Bryce is not going to have to deal with this, and he's the one who's probably better suited to come out early because I think he's better.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I haven't watched too much on him, but I've heard he's the better of the bunch. They tell me.
But I mean, it's also like he's bigger.
Yeah.
It's like the same, like Cooper Flag has a twin, right?
Does he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he has a twin, and that like he's going D1 too, but nobody gives a fuck about him because his brother's Cooper Flag. It's not like he's not a bad player, but it's different. Um, but yeah, no, I think he should stay in school. And it really does depend where he ends up. I think like because the teams that are going to draft him are going to be like guys who think they're going to get LeBron. So it's like Dallas, it's the Lakers, it's God forbid he ends up in Philadelphia. I think that would be a disaster. I don't know who else has late round picks that would like make it. Maybe Golden State has a late round pick. That would be fun. Fuck it. But I don't know. It depends on where. Oh, Boston has a late round pick. So it depends. Like, listen, if you're picking in the 50s, it's basically a crapshoot anyway. There've been like 6 effective players in the 50s. It's like Monte Ellis, Manu Ginobili, like Isaiah Thomas, and that's like it.
Well,
like,
I think Jokic was 46, but that's just as close.
41 or something. But like,
yeah,
when you're like, there's 58 picks in this draft because teams lost their picks to something or other. But like, they're usually draft and stash candidates anyway. Or
right.
yeah, so I think he should stay in school another year. I don't think he's going to. It's impossible to tell how effective he's going to be until we get an idea of where he might go. And like the combine stuff is fine, but like he missed all his threes in the game. I know he had 13 points today, but I haven't seen any of the breakdowns and stuff for it. It's just, it's a lot of pressure. And especially being on like a LeBron team. Like, because they're not going to blame LeBron for anything if things start going wrong. And if he's bad, that's tough. It's hard to overcome that. Like, look at Dante Exum. Dante Exum was a top 5 pick. It couldn't shoot. Had to go overseas to figure out. Like, God forbid Bronny washes out.
Yeah. And he goes plays in like,
because he's a second round pick. They have like, I know their contracts certainly aren't for you. They don't have the same protections that their first round picks get. He's gonna get like it's like a 2-year +1 or something like that.
Yeah, that's we're just gonna have to see where it goes, and we'll see what he declares or not. And who was it? Just there was this player, I just can't remember his name. That it must have been a first round draft pick, declined it. Now he's playing overseas in front of playing like 500 people. It was unfortunate, but whatever. Interesting stuff. Maybe I'll remember it down the line. But now let's go to the Western Series. I have to say, faces, we have the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. When we spoke, the Timberwolves were up 2-0 over the Nuggets, and the Nuggets have won 3 straight since, taking 2 on the road and winning finally at home in this series. Now they are just 1 win away from going back to the conference finals. What's going on here? Do you think the Timberwolves have a chance to redeem themselves? No, we were very confident before, but things have changed, and Jokic have just gone off.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that changed. One, Jokic is like unbelievable. Like he had 40-13 and 0 turnovers in the last game. Like it was probably his best playoff game ever. Like he's unbelievably good, and there's really just no way to guard him. Like you basically need to do what the Timberwolves did is you got to have a big guy, a big forward to like kind of bounce with him and then bring like the help over the top. But one-on-one, like people are roasting Rudy Gobert, but there's not a single player in the league who could stop Jokic one-on-one. Because and this is Anthony Davis is the one who gets this the most, is like you guard him really good for 23 and a half seconds, and then he does that step back over his head, moon ball that goes in like 80% of the time.
Not even like looking with that. And he gets his assist that way too.
Yeah. So a couple of things that changed. One, I think the Wolves got a little complacent. 2, they really have a problem with Towns. Like, I don't understand. Motherfucker's been in the league for 9 years. He is dumb. Like, he takes the stupidest fouls all the time. So part of the thing that worked really well in game 2 was they would pressure whichever the Nuggets ball handler was at half court, which worked really well against Murray because he was hurt. And he certainly looks much healthier. He's not shooting better. He's shooting a little bit better, but he's not like fully healthy. He just is moving better, so it looks more like he's more confident.
Yeah.
So they were able to like trap him in this way. So one of the changes that the Nuggets did is have different people bring it up. Instead of Murray, Jokic will bring it up, and Naz Reid would meet him at half court, or Towns would meet him at half court. But the problem is you can't have Towns meet at half court because half the time he just trucks him, and he fouls him at half court. Like, or he'll like run over Michael Porter Jr. and get a foul. Like the problem with that is he gets these like stupid fouls all the time. But then the other thing is like Aaron Gordon's play. So like game they blew them out in game 3 because it like kind of figured it out. But game 4, like they lost by like 10 or 12. but they were in that whole game. And the way you have to look at this game is the Nuggets got pretty lucky. Like Aaron Gordon missed one shot. Everybody on Minnesota sucked except for Anthony Edwards, and they barely won that game. Like their defense hasn't been up to the same level it was in those first two games, and there's no reason to think that it won't improve a little bit more. Depending on whether Mike Conley, I don't know if he's coming back because that's a bit of a problem. Assuming Towns will stop picking up at least 2 stupid fouls a game is good. But like the Nuggets are just playing better. They're shooting better. They're understanding like space and stuff. Like Jokic just figured out where he can attack from. Like they figured out how to use Gordon better. They're just more like Christian Brown's been really good in this series. They're just more comfortable now than I think they were. I think the first 2 games, they got punched in the mouth. They certainly got punched in the mouth in game 2. And if they go on to win this series, the Jamal Murray not getting thrown out for game 3 for the ice pack, for the heat pack thing is going to be an all-time what if. But the Nuggets, this could still go 7. This could still go. The Timberwolves could win this series. It's not like they haven't been in these games. Like there've been the 2 blowouts, but they've been in there. Like even the games that they lost, they've been in. And look, you can't do anything about like if Jokic plays like he did last night. You can't do he's got to be a scorer thing because he's still going to just be better than. And I mean, Jalen McDaniels hasn't had a great series, but they're right. Like they're right in it. This is the best. Like this is for whoever's coming out of the West.
It almost feels like whoever's going to actually win the finals between these two, in a way.
I think it would be. I think if Minnesota made it out, it would certainly be the Western Conference Finals, and then the actual finals would be much closer. But I think if the Nuggets make it out of the series, especially if they make it out in 6, I don't know if they lose more than 2 games the rest of the way.
Like, yeah, and especially not only with Jokic, but you mentioned how Aaron Gordon one night it's his night. Reckon it's been earlier in the series. It could be a Porter night as the number 2. Someone else is always contributing too, and as long as the refs don't, decide the game either way, Nuggets are back in at least a good groove with it. But this Timberwolves team is just so much more scrappier and just so much more fun to watch. But
their defense really is their defense is really unbelievable. Like it like they're gonna be a problem at least until the cap starts fucking them over.
And that's why you gotta win now.
Yeah, well, you gotta win now anyway because Wemby's coming. So like that's not even an exaggeration. Like other GMs are like, yeah, we kind of got to get it done now because he's like.
We have the return. The Grizzlies, Ja's coming back, and the Grizzlies could be cooking.
Yeah, it's going to be tougher next year, but it's not like this. Like it's not like what they did is a fluke.
Yeah, I think that's the big
thing.
Their
defense is real. Like Ant's going to get better. Jalen Duren is probably going to get better next year. I don't know who else they bring in, how much space they'll have to bring in guys. But maybe they come into it next year. Towns isn't hurt like a week before the playoffs. Like that would make a difference. Maybe next year, Towns just locks himself in a room over the summer and just watches film and learns how not to make dumbass fouls for the first time in his decade-long career. Like there's no reason to think they're not going to be one of the top 4 teams in the league next year.
And one thing to say too, we don't expect Towns to actually leave now. Some people thought maybe the Knicks scoop him up or he leaves. You expect him to stay for the long-term future with Minnesota because of what they have been accomplishing.
I still don't know. I would have to double check what their cap stuff looks like. Because I think they're gonna have to they're gonna have to sign Ant soon, and he's gonna make $60 million a year, unless he's like, actually, you know what? Fuck it, pay me less so we can keep other guys around. Which God bless him if he does. But they're gonna have to pay Naz Reid a bunch. Gobert's still on the hook for $50 million. I think Towns is still on the hook for $50 million a year. It's like they need a better backup point guard, and they probably need another big who's not Kyle Anderson. So I think cap is going to be more of an issue. I think he probably stays around one more year because it's not like there isn't really like a trade, especially like for draft picks this year. Like if you're going to think like some type of cat for the number one pick type stuff, like this is not the draft for them. So
Should be in.
I think unless he's like absolutely horrendous and something comes out that it's like, you know what, I fucking hate being here. I don't like anybody on this team. Um, I'm getting blamed for all this stuff. Which there's no evidence that any of those things are true. So I don't see why they wouldn't bring him back.
Do the right thing, everybody. All right. Well, the last series to discuss right now. They are about to tip off in game 5, but right now the Mavericks and the Thunder are tied at 2 games apiece. Very interesting stuff right here. We are seeing some improved play for Dallas, especially Luka. Maybe he's shaking off what we thought could be an injury-plagued series. I think this is a series that will be closer than we think. How are you feeling about this?
I mean, it should be 3-1. You can't miss 10 free throws in a close game and expect to win. But Jalen Williams was not good in game 4.
He's definitely been having the worst series of the bunch.
But I don't know. This is an interesting. Like Luka's got to stop playing it. Like it's every possession. It's every possession. And I look. There are absolutely ones where he's getting. There was I don't remember.
I've seen he's getting some headshots almost in there. But I agree with you.
I think it was game 3 where Dort just like cut his legs. Like he hit him on a pump fake and Dort just like tackled him.
Yeah, and there was one where I think he fell face first into the floor.
That was the one they went for the loop ball and he came down. Yeah, like he's his ass beat. But like the other thing is PJ Washington's just never going to miss a corner 3 from the left side. He's just going to average 27 for the series. That's just what he's going to do. Like I don't know what to do. I just think
he's getting some boards too. He's been killing that, and we have Kyrie.
The issue, Kyrie is not playing well. Like he's doing okay defensively, but you can't have under 10 points in these type of games. Like they're going to be ugly, grind him out games, and you got to do more. Right. He just does. Like it worked it was game 2 where he had like 11 assists, but they do need more from Kyrie. On the Thunder side, probably not going to be playing Giddey much more. He's probably not going to be there after this year.
Yeah, his minutes have been severely decreased, and he's only scored 5. I mean, game 5 he only scored 5 points, and he's definitely been a disappointment. But some people like Dort has stepped up.
He's basically Ben Simmons on offense. Like that's how people treat him. And to be fair, he shoots more threes, but he's not a good 3-point shooter. So I don't know. I think there's a likelihood that Casey Wallace plays more. There's a good chance that Wiggins plays more or Isaiah Joe. The Thunder team's pretty deep, so they have the options to not have him there.
You do wish also Chet's been so in this series. I just wish you'd see him step up more here in this impressive technical rookie year. But Shea's been fine too. She has been fine though. You wish he could do more, but
the thing with Chet is this is like kind of a harder series for him, especially with how the Thunder are built. Where, like, to be fair, the offensive rebounding stuff is not as bad. Like the offensive rebounding stuff for the Thunder is not as bad as it is for the Pacers. Like the Pacers get clobbered on the boards, and the Thunder don't get clobbered in the same way. Like they lose them, but it's much closer than you would think. So this is a hard series for like a Chet to be in because they got big aggressive guys who are going to bounce around inside. I mean, he's doing pretty well. The question is like, who is that? Like, if Jalen Williams is struggling, who do you go to? Like, you need to have that third guy to get a bucket, and it's not Chet, and it's not like I don't know who it is. And that's probably what they have to look for.
Maybe it could be Lou Dort, who's been impressive.
Is that like you're not running plays for Lou Dort? You gotta like who are you running the play for? And I don't even know if it's not Jalen Williams and SGA. Like that's what they're gonna have to figure out.
That's one thing this young coach has been impressive. I think he could get the adjustments for that.
Maybe. I mean, there's like, this is a good Thunder team. And it's hard to tell like what you're getting night in, night out from Luka at this point. Like he's had some of his worst games in the series.
Yeah. You wish you had if Kyrie is your number two, but he is definitely a veteran player, you wish you had somebody just a little younger as a solid number two. That could have been Jalen Brunson, but we know what happened. And they really kicking themselves for that.
Yeah, but like, hindsight's 2020. It's like saying, oh yeah, the Clippers wouldn't have made the Paul George trade if they knew what Shea was gonna be. Like nobody knew what Shea was gonna be. Like, yeah, in hindsight, it's a terrible trade, but nobody expected Jalen Brunson to be this good. The Knicks didn't expect Jalen Brunson to be this good.
No, true pleasant surprise. Get another
So I don't
40
know.
burger in there.
This could probably go 7. Um, it would be interesting.
And you would lean
It will
towards
certainly
Oklahoma
be
City
important.
or
Huh?
Dallas if it gets to 7. Where would you lean towards?
I think Dallas. I
Really?
think, yeah, I think even though they would play in Oklahoma City. I think having Luka and Kyrie, I think would be it's a different thing. Like they've played in so many game sevens. Their first couple years, I think they took the um, Clippers to game 7. Kyrie's, hit the biggest shot in Cleveland history
Yep.
in a game 7. So it's not like they haven't been there. And I mean, other than Shea, I don't think anyone in the Thunder have played in a game 7. Oh, Lou Dort was there when they played Houston in the bubble. So
Well, if anything, there's still a lot of pride there with a coach of the year and plenty of cap space themselves, expecting probably making a big move in the offseason. It'll be very
they have a
notable.
zillion picks coming up. They have so much like they're like outside of Jokic, like with the Nuggets, if they win again, being like, all right, how the fuck are we going to deal with this? Like they can just outlast them. Like they have the pieces to just outlast like a dynasty. Like they're the competition to like San Antonio because San Antonio has a bunch of picks, which we'll talk about in a minute. But like Oklahoma City's on a different level with their picks. Like they're like the fact that they were the 1 seed this year and they were like so young is just crazy.
Yeah. So why don't we actually get into that and let's talk about the 2024 draft lottery. Now the draft is set. June 26th and 27th will be your draft. And let us go through the top 10 picks that were selected in the draft lottery. Number 10 goes to Utah, 9 Memphis. San Antonio gets number 8 from Toronto. We got the Blazers at 7, the Hornets at 6. Number 5, the worst team in the league statistically, the Detroit Pistons. San Antonio gets the fourth pick. Hilariously, Brooklyn gets the 3rd, but they have to sacrifice it and give it to Houston. Houston's going to be picking 3rd. Washington at 2, and Atlanta is going to be picking number 1 in this year's NBA draft. So you must be excited. The Spurs get 2 top 10 picks. Why don't you
Oh,
comment on that to start?
so the general sense is that this is a bad draft. I disagree. Um, Obviously, there's no like super duper headline. There's no like Wemby. There's no, there's not even like a Cade or just like somebody who you consistently think. But I think there's a lot of like really solid to potentially really good players. So I am very happy that they got these picks. I kind of wish they had gotten 3, and I think Houston's kind of looking to move 3. So I'd be interested to see if they could try to get 3 and 4. Uh, because like this class has a bunch of different archetypes. So there's like 3 really good big guys. There's like 6 wings, and there's like 4 guards. So when we're talking about the top 10, it's like the top 3, or the projected number 1 is Alex Salt, and he's like this potentially defensive Jaren Jackson Jr. type, like very very good defender already. Potentially the offense is going to come there. The problem is Atlanta doesn't need they don't need another big unless they move Clint Capella, because I think he could play at the 4, and Jalen Johnson may be a 4. So it's a weird mix for Atlanta. Then the other guys are you have the 6 wings. There's the French kid who I think he's going to Detroit and he's gonna bust. I don't think he's very good. I like the shooting numbers, like he was rising because of shooting numbers, and then he was bad. So then you have Matas Buzelis, who's like kind of a point forward but can't really shoot. You got Ron Holland, who's like a really athletic wing but can't really shoot either, and it's not a great decision maker. You have Cody Williams, who's Jalen Williams' younger brother, who looks like a really good secondary third piece to maybe build into something more. You have I'm trying to remember who else is. Yeah, like those are the wings. And then you got the four guards. You got Topic, who's kind of like a Gordon Dragic clone. You have Reed Shepard, who like led the NCAA in 3-point percentage, but he's small. But he had a 42-inch vertical. He had the best vertical in the combine. But he's like a phenomenal shooter. And then you got his backcourt mate Rob Dillingham, who's like an amazing shooter, kind of like a Maxey type. But he's like 6'1". And then there's like Steven Castle, who maybe 6'2", but he's actually maybe 6'6", but he can't shoot. But he's a phenomenal. He does all the other shit. So there's a whole bunch of like guys who, are like a thing away from being like a really solid, like, oh my God, this guy could pop off, but like could be at a baseline of really good contributors. So the whole thing is there's no consensus for any part of this draft. Like, I ideally, I want the Spurs. I think they should take Castle at 4. Because then you can take your pick between X-Wing or whichever one of the Topic, Dillingham, Shepard falls down to you. And then ideally you get 3. Like if they trade for 3, then you could take Topic, or you could take X point guard, Castle, wing. Like that would be the ideal. But this is all over the place because there's nobody like super exciting that the media's like, yeah, this guy's gonna save your franchise. These are all like additive pieces. Like if you already have a foundation or you're starting to build something, like Washington's fucked in this draft because there's nobody in this draft who's going to make them better than they are, like significantly better, which is good because next year's draft is way better. They have Cooper Flagg. I think Ace Bailey is projected as another guy. So it's good to suck for next year. But like, there's nobody like. How excited are you if you get like Donovan Clinging, like he may be their pick at 2. It's a weird draft. I don't think it's like, oh, this draft is just terrible and nobody cares. Like there's going to be good players coming at it.
And you figure by with the law, with just a lot of chance there's somebody out here who will be a good star. It's not going to be the 2000 draft. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that simply because of like there seems to be too many guys in this draft who could like pop. Like the 2000 draft is maligned because it had like just Kenyon Martin as an all-star. Like there's guys who could pop for like a season. Like Dillingham could pop for a season and get an all-star nod. What's his face? Any of these wing guys could pop for a season or something. Like it's not like there's like unplayable guys in this draft. Like Dalton Knecht could actually be like a really consistently good player for a while. I mean, he's a little bit older, but that's the Tristan Da Silva out of Colorado is projected at whatever number Philly has, and that he's a good kid, like Nick Batum, smaller clone type. So it's not like there isn't players that you can like build. It's just not. These aren't the ceiling raisers. They're your floor raisers. They're guys who are going to help your franchise take a step toward being stable. So teams like,
and that's important. They need.
Right. So like teams like Detroit is probably better off trading. Like it's probably better off trading this pick to try to get some more like actual rotational guys.
It stinks for them being so god awful, the very worst team in the league, no hope whatsoever, and you get.
It's not that there's no hope. They had a really bad coach. Like Monty Williams did an awful job coaching this team. They had some really bad players on this roster that they had to get rid of, and guys got hurt. Like Cade was fine. Jalen. They're not losing 28 in a row if they play Jaden Ivey. Like they just aren't. Like Killian Hayes sucked.
They'll just lose 10 in a row instead.
Like they had no spacing and they had no shooting. Like that was a real problem for this team. Like they had like real structural issues, then they got to figure out how to figure out, to bring more depth. And I don't think the fifth pick is going to be, other than because I don't even know where they go. Like I think you can't go. You're not going one of the guards unless you're moving Ivy, and or you convince somebody that you're going to move like Cade, and you can I don't know who wants to pay for Cade and then pay Cade $250 million. So I don't think it's worth that. So they basically have to take the French kid because he's the only one that makes sense for it. But I don't think he's a good shooter. At least like the last couple of months he hasn't proven it. So are you gonna take you're not gonna take Ron Holland because you already have the Thompson kid. That kid can't shoot at all. So maybe you take Cody Williams. Maybe I don't even know. I don't know who's going to be that's the thing. There's no way to tell what exactly a team. You have to have 7 players on your first pick because there's just so much mystery about this. Maybe they use this pick to maybe the Hawks use it as part of a Trae Young sweetener because I don't know if they I hope they just blow it up and just get traded.
I was going to ask, do you think Atlanta should just break up the DeJounte Murray and Trae Young backcourt and start really from scratch? Didn't really work this time, so why as well, especially if you're getting a first overall pick.
So there's 2 things to this. One is the question of where you're going to send Trae Young. He has to go somewhere where he's not the best guy. And that's there's 4 or 5 teams where that is. But I don't know who's going to want to trade that much for him. I think there was a report just today that Brandon Ingram has more trade value than Young does, which I agree with. I think I'd rather have Brandon Ingram than Trae Young on my team. I think the place that does make the most sense for him would not be a good landing spot. I think Orlando's a good spot for him, but I think he might fuck that team up. The Lakers would be great. He would fit in really well with LeBron, and he wouldn't be a pain in the ass in the way he's been in Atlanta. But why the hell would I want Trae Young one day if I can get Donovan Mitchell instead?
Yeah.
I don't know where you go with that. So, but they can't keep this team together. And the other thing is they have to moderate how bad they are next year because they don't have their pick. So you don't want to be super terrible and give the Spurs a top 3 pick or something because you just don't have your pick. Because that's basically now. Granted, if you end up if you end up trading Murray and Young for a whole bunch of first round picks, it lessens it. This is really what Brooklyn should have done. Is they apparently had the option to trade Mikal Bridges for Jalen Green at 5 first, and I don't know how many if one of those first was their pick for this year, they could have come out of this with the 3rd overall pick in this year. So,
and they just didn't. Oh yeah. Man. It's a hilarious narrative, bro. It really is. I'm sorry, man. I don't really feel bad. I mean, I've heard I was seeing this thread about how there were Net fans. They'd rather keep Cam Thomas than trade it for Donovan Mitchell. Was talking I mean, I'm so surprised Sean Marks is still there.
First of all, that's really dumb. And second of all, if I'm Donovan Mitchell, I'm not signing Brooklyn either. Fuck that. They're terrible.
I know.
They got nothing. They're going to have to literally repeat what they did in the early 2010s, where they traded everything for a bunch of agent guys, and it didn't work out, and they had to basically wander in no man's land for a whole bunch of years while they basically built this version of the Celtics for them. You're going to have to do that again, because all your picks are weird as shit.
With a new GM, too, not Sean Marks.
Yeah, this was not a great show. But it's not like you can't throw pieces away. Mikal Bridges has trade value. Cam Thomas has trade value. I cannot believe Dorian Finney-Smith made it through the deadline on this team. Nick Claxton has trade value. I don't know what you're going to build around. You're going to suck, and you probably want to suck. I don't know if they have their pick next year, or whose pick they have. But build up draft capital. I'm sure Oklahoma City will probably throw you a couple first for Nick Claxton.
Hey,
how many first do you think they can get from the Knicks for some type of trade with probably get 13%. They're not going to just straight up send McCall Bridges to the Knicks.
I know it'd just
Like
be so much, and of course the Nova Knicks would like that, but and also I've never really seen a trade between the Knicks and
they haven't had a
Brooklyn.
player trade in like 50 years.
Yeah, like in any of the sports, it just usually doesn't happen. The New York teams don't trade amongst
Right.
each
So it'd
other.
have to be a third team. So
Yeah,
like maybe Atlanta gets involved with Trae Young going to like Brooklyn or something.
well,
As
he
part
like
of it.
that. And I don't know any net. I know two net fans, and I don't even think they're real fans. Just they'll be there. It's not like they can just relocate either. Which is what it is with that nice arena. Well, the arena's okay. But
The
God
last time
not
I
on
was
that.
there was the like week before COVID.
Yeah, I've only seen concerts there in two net games, and it's whatever. It's whatever. But yeah, and last thing to wrap it up before we call it a day. Just one more time with this TV deal. It looks like all things are pointing that NBC is going to get that TV deal, take it away from Turner. Turner made one last push. We'll see if anything comes of it, with Shaq and Charles Barkley joining the execs to make one last push to the NBA to try to keep him. But it looks like we're going to lose the best studio show in all of sports. Is this something that's going to upset you like it's going to upset so many other people?
Well, isn't Barkley going to wherever it is? Like he has an out in his contract, right?
Yeah, so in his contract, he has a clause where that if TNT loses, that he's technically a free agent, but obviously, I mean, he's Charles Barkley. You're NBC. That's the third step you go in building a new NBA team. So yes, I expect Charles Barkley to go to NBC as well.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to see who ends up where with stuff.
I feel
I know
you give everything to give those four guys, and you just rebrand them instead of inside the
I don't see
NBA.
why
It's
they can't do both. Like Netflix is doing the Christmas games for football.
Yeah, that's what I was confused about that too. I figure why not? You could add it. There's plenty of money to share.
It's not
Um,
like you can't do like, and maybe you do less blackouts or you allow like home crews certain stuff. Like I don't know. It feels weird that they would uh lose like a brand they had like that. The money must be absurd.
yeah, that they only have room for two as well. That's weird. You might as well
Yeah,
have a third. Why not? I
and
feel
it's not
there's
like
enough
all this.
revenue for it and enough viewership, most of all.
Like you're gonna have the viewership. It's the same viewership. Um, it's just you gotta have you gotta keep them like. Well, I think again, I like the TNT Max. I think it worked out pretty well. And I hope that doesn't go away because I do like to be able to like watch those games when I'm not home.
Yeah,
Um, so it's like, and I think probably having more the Amazon stuff for the NFL was a disaster. At least personally, like I don't think I ever watched a single Thursday night game on Amazon. Uh,
I had to sit through a
but
bunch of baddie football with that, but yeah, I mean, you might as well if you're going to throw the money for it, you do it. And I think Netflix will partner with one of the three networks instead of doing like a
they're all
Netflix
gonna,
NFL show.
it's all gonna like come back together to like become cable.
Yeah, that's every single person says that's hilarious. That cable's just
Because it is. There's no
revamped.
reason for you to pay what I don't even know what Netflix is anymore. I think Max is $9.99.
Max
Hulu
$9.99
is
net. Yeah, same thing. Hulu.
Hulu is with Disney, so you don't even need. And I think they're now bundling together with Netflix. And then God knows why you would buy Paramount because they're like 80% of their shows are terrible. It's like basically South Park.
Yeah, all they have is their sports and the NFL and golf to survive on and college basketball.
They have like three shows. It was like Halo and Knuckles, and I don't even know what.
Oh god, awful shows too. And yeah, I'm
So it's all going to come back
surprised.
together in its own little like weird packages and stuff. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they'll. I don't. It'll depend on the money and how long the TV deal is because like it's going to be weird that first year, like if NBC is doing it, where it's probably going to see a hit in ratings if it's like, oh, the NBA fucked up, and then it will like stabilize because it's something different and something new.
Hey, there was a time where they took the risk where the NBA chose Turner at in the 90s as a cable service, and why they go away, and it turned out to work. So great David
Why
Stearns on
can't
that
they
one.
do like WNBA games on Turner? Like, wouldn't that make a little bit more sense? Like,
Especially if this is
it's
going to be a
what?
big breakout season for them. Did you happen to see Caitlin Clark's debut?
No, I don't know what channel it is on to watch it or when the games are on.
Well, she's a rookie. It was tough. Obviously, she's a huge target on her back, but she only scored 33 from the field. I think she went 5 for 15, 10 turnovers, some nasty
Yeah, but
blocks,
like,
but
yeah,
this is
it's
one.
well, you can't judge anybody based on their first like couple games. Like
I
you
saw
like Wembanyama was bad in their first. They got blown out, and then in his third game he had 33 on the Suns, and then they sucked for a month, and then he took like 7 different leaps. Like you can't judge a guy based on like starting because it's a different game. Like yeah, she's gonna have nights where she goes like 1 for 15 or like 6 for 12, or she'll have pop off nights.
Yeah, I
It's
think
just the
people
way
just
that
want,
sports is.
people, how people are and the jealousy factor and all of that. Like I literally saw, this is Barstool. I know it's Barstool, but they literally wrote, after this horrible performance, we have to ask ourselves, is Caitlin Clark a bust? And obviously it's just bait, but everything she does is clearly watched with a magnifying glass.
Well, it's good for the league. Good for them.
I'm excited. I really am. I think I really could give the WNBA a chance this summer.
Oh, did you see that Victor's shoes came out?
No, I didn't. Who is he
It
with?
sold out
Adidas?
in 30 minutes.
Who is he with? Is he with a
Nike. They did the alien in the cornfield.
Okay, let me Google this right now. Oh my goodness. Those are beautiful. Starting at a whopping 136, but I see this green. I can share the screen really quick. Just one moment for everybody watching. You see?
Yeah,
You talk
and
about
they
these?
sold out. They sold out in 30 minutes.
Ooh, are you part of are you one of those people?
No, I cannot buy. I can't buy shoes online. I have to try it on to see if it fits. And I'm certainly not buying. I don't play ball enough anymore to spend $130 on basketball shoes. Like I'm gonna get a Victor jersey at some point, but I'm not gonna buy. I think buying basketball shoes is like one of the worst investments if you're gonna like actually play with them.
I will say you have said this season he will be a top 10 player of all time.
Yeah,
Still
assuming
feel
he's healthy.
Man, I mean, I hope so for the sake of this show. But he's obviously in the right direction for that. You expect to be an all-star next year, I assume, and
Oh yeah, he's gonna be an
begin
all-star
the
next year.
begin the reigns as a face of the league.
All-star defensive player of the year. He's probably gonna get that next
All
year.
pro, all NBA.
Probably, yeah. He'll either be first or second. He actually might make all NBA this year.
Like 13.
Yeah, he's probably gonna be all defense. I don't
Okay.
know if he'll be all NBA.
And the last thing in this draft, the big thing is finding his number two. Is that number two for him going to be in this draft?
Potentially, but I think it's Devin. I think it's Vassell is probably the number 2 right now. I think
Mhm.
this is more about potentially finding um a point guard if they get either Dillingham or Topic or Shepard, or like a wing kind of guy to replace um uh what's his face Jim Penny, because I think that's what they would do if they took somebody like Cody Williams or Castle.
All right. Well,
Because
it should be a
I
good
don't think
time.
you're going to find your number 2 in this draft. I think it'd probably be next year, because they still like next year they're probably going to get the Bulls pick, because they're going to re-sign DeMar DeRozan, and I don't remember what the Bulls protections on it are, but they also have the next 3 years of Atlanta picks, and it's going to be curious. Like depending on what happens this summer is going to change whether or not those picks are as valuable.
Right. All right. Well, time will tell, as with everything. But another good one in the books. Next time I will speak to you next week to talk about the conference finals, and we will go from there. Let us enjoy this weekend of basketball. Thank you so much, Faces, and we'll see you very soon.
Yep. Have a good one.